Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Camera Work Podcast number 15. This is John Ricard, and I'm joined by a friend of mine, Stephen Gomez. What's up, Stephen?
Hey, how's it going, John?
Right. Now, Stephen is a buyer at a camera store called K&M, correct?
Yep. K&M.
Right. Now, I don't actually shop there, which is kind of bad because, like, I've got you here, and you're a friend of mine and everything, and then for some reason, I don't know, I just never make it down to K&M, but just... And you're not here because of the store. Like, it's not like I didn't invite you here because I'm trying to build a relationship with the store or we're trying to advertise. It really has nothing to do with that. You're a personal friend of mine. You're into photography, and I think the job you do at K&M is kind of cool. So that's why you're here. But just tell us a bit about K&M just so we have a context for what K&M is. Okay.
Well, K&M is a photo store in Manhattan. It's been around for 30 plus years. It's family owned and family run. We specialize in darkroom photography mostly. We're one of the last stores that still do it. We have everything you need if you still currently do darkroom printing, black and white or color. We also have the normal selection of digital cameras and digital equipment. We have a full service rental department. And we do a good bit of business online as well on some of the major platforms, Amazon, eBay, our own personal website.
Right. Now, again, there's no particular reason why I don't go to K&M. I just end up at B&H because my studio is really close to B&H, but it makes me laugh because B&H is everyone who knows B&H, which is like worldwide. Everyone. They're on 34th and 9th Avenue. Yep. And years ago, they were on 17th Street. And I've been shopping at B&H since they were on 17th Street. I mean, I was in college the first time I went to B&H, and I still don't know a person at B&H, which is funny because it's like when you go to Home Depot, it's like, it's gigantic and it's huge, but I never have a guy. And I know like Ray, who does the podcast, Ray Tomorrow does the podcast. He's really the co-host, but he's on a very rare vacation. Ray never goes on vacation. Ray is like the Terminator, but he's on vacation this week, which is really cool. So I guess he's surfing or something. God knows what he's doing. But he always has a guy. Like he's at Calumet. And I think his guy went from, I think his name is Ron. He went from Calumet right across the street to PhotoCare. Oh. And now Ray shops at PhotoCare because he has a guy. Yeah. And I never have a guy like for my car, for nothing. Like I don't have a guy. But how important do you think that is for a photographer, either amateur or professional, to have a guy?
I think it's pretty, I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but I think it's pretty helpful because when you have a guy, you have a personal relationship with somebody at one of these stores, it helps a lot. You get deals most of the time. Usually you get notified when something you really want comes in because they're aware of the shipping schedule. Right. It definitely has its benefits.
Yeah, but it cracks me up because, God, how much money I've spent at B&H in the last, 25 years. And like I said, I don't know anybody there. Like, if you mention my name at any camera store, man, no one knows what you're talking about. It means nothing.
Yeah, B&H is like that. They're the big camera store, the big box. They're almost like, when I think of B&H, I think of like Walmart almost. Right. Everybody knows them, but nobody there knows you.
Right. And you know what can be frustrating though for me is that, like, sometimes I'll feel like the stores like that, they will cater to the person that doesn't know anything. Like I'll be behind some old woman and she can't figure out like how to turn on a digital camera and she's asking all these questions and advice and they're helping her like crazy. It's like, oh, well, here's how you turn it on. And I'm up there going like, oh, I want to try this. Like one of the things I was interested in recently was Voigtlander, which is not a company I normally buy a lens from. But they make a 1.8 21 millimeter lens. I shoot with my 21 all the time on my Leica. And a 1.4 version of that 21 millimeter lens from Leica will run you about $7,000. It's just way out of reach. Yeah. I have a 2.8 version, but a lot of times I'd like a 1.4. And Voigtlander makes a 1.8. It's like $1,200. All the reviews are fantastic. That's the kind of thing that I would really like to try that out for a few minutes and see, does this work for me? Because I could really see buying that. But if I go to a store like B&H for that, I always feel like they're just kind of like, oh, no, we don't have it. We don't care. F you. Nobody's really going out of their way. But then there's like some woman trying to spend $200 on a point and shoot, doesn't know how to turn it on, and everyone's like catering to that. And I don't know if that's just my perception, but that's how I always feel.
It's definitely not. It's like that. I know when I started doing photography, when I was younger in school, the one place they always advertised to go buy your supplies for school was B&H.
That's how I got introduced. I was at Baruch, and I was taking a black and white, whatever, developing class, I guess it was, and that was how I first heard of B&H. You go there with that list, right, of like, you know, developing tank and fixer reels, and all of the reels and all that stuff.
I mean, when I was in high school, I went to Lincoln here in Brooklyn, and my teacher was like, yeah, if you need any supplies, go to B&H, get your paper. And when I went in there, I remember I went in there to go buy a lens for my Minolta for my camera, and it literally took forever for somebody to come help me.
Right.
And when I did, they all had an attitude. It was worth it. After that one time, I never went back. I actually ended up buying my film online from then on because I just didn't want to deal with anybody at B&H.
Right, you deal with that stuff. But the one thing I do like about a place like that is they don't really change prices in the sense that, you know, like, you know, there was a time in New York where, like, you'd walk on Fifth Avenue, and I mean, it was all of these camera stores, and it was all just rip-off tourist garbage. And, you know, I remember one time they sold my father this just piece of crap camera, and I was so angry. Like, I was so mad that they had taken advantage of him. And it's like I wanted to go to the store and, like, smash the window. I was so angry. Like, when he came back, like, oh, the salesman told me to buy this camera, and I'd just gotten into photography, and I can just still remember the anger that I had, and it was all over Fifth Avenue and a lot of 6th Avenue near like 34th Street. You had a lot of camera stores there.
Some of them are still there.
Yeah, there's a couple of them still there, and they always have a giant going out of business sale. I'm like, dude, what can I do to help you go out of business? Because I'd love for you to fucking be out of business because you guys are horrible. Yeah. And it's like a permanent sign. It's like the store. Yeah, it's like the store's called going out of business
and
or something.
They have cameras from like 4 years ago in their display case, and like, we have to sell these cameras.
And then you see Apple products, and you're like, now who's going to buy an iPad from you when I can just go to the Apple store and buy an iPad?
Funny story. I know a guy who went into one of those stores to go buy an iPad when it first came out. He bought it. When he left the store, he opened the box. It was a box full of rocks.
That's funny.
Literally a box full of rocks.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But are there times of the year that are better times to buy gear, or does it really not matter?
Well, you see a lot with, like, of course, Christmas and things like that. Companies like Canon and Nikon will pull out deals, and they'll have rebates on their more popular items. For instance, this past Mother's Day, Nikon had a promotion where you would get, I forget exactly the model, but they had a Mother's Day package, and you would pick up, it was Nikon and Canon, I believe, and with Canon, I believe it was the ELPH point and shoot, and, you know, you got it, it came with a case, it came with a 4 gig memory card, and it was discounted slightly. I mean, it was a good deal, but you can still pick up those same deals now for a slightly higher cost. But
those holiday things crack me up because I got one in the mail. The stupidest thing was from Bose, who makes speakers, and it's like, Mother's Day is coming. Buy your mama a Bose speaker. Like, my mother doesn't care about a speaker. It's the last thing I'm going to give my mother that she's going to go, wow. Like, but every company just wants to jump on whatever the holiday is. Like,
they change the packaging slightly. They put a nice little picture of a mom on there, and they're like, buy this for your mom.
Right. And some stuff's easy for guys, like Dad and Nikon. Okay, yeah, that's easy for Father's Day, but Bose and Mother's Day, that's a really hard sell.
Just get my dad a multi-tool Leatherman. Like, there you go.
Right. But I'm sure they're sending out an email from Leatherman telling you why your mom needs a Leatherman.
Yeah. Like, you never know. Your mom needs to, take apart the engine for quick install.
That's going to happen, right? So what's hot right now in terms of selling? What do you think are the really hot products that... But, well, did we explain what your position is at K&M? I think we just said you work there.
Yeah. Well, I can...
What is it that you do at K&M? I think I probably should have explained that already.
No problem. I work with their online sales department. I'm pretty much a buyer. I look for new brands. I work with current brands that we sell, pick up product, and basically just order the inventory for the store and for our online department and our warehouse. So basically I deal with brands like Canon, Nikon, Leica, Sony.
And online is huge.
Yeah, it's enormous.
Yeah, and it's weird because for me, it's like, I don't really make any money off the internet, which is weird because, I'm kind of still in that place where it sort of feels like the web sort of hurt my business in some ways. And I see a lot of photographers who've been successful with various things online, but somehow I haven't really made that click properly. But your store is definitely an example because you mentioned to me once that like at one time you guys weren't selling a lot of seamless paper, and then now through selling seamless paper online, you guys are moving a ton of seamless paper online.
That's probably the biggest example of things that we've been able to just increase dramatically, like our profit and what we just carry and offer to people. I mean, it's pretty common sense when you look at like what you can offer people at a store via what you can offer them online, because your audience is so much greater online.
Right.
So online. I mean,
and you don't have to stock stuff.
Yeah, we don't have to keep anything in-house, really. I mean, just the number of super white we sell now compared to what we used to do in-store is it's just crazy.
Insane. Yeah, and that stuff, man, that stuff keeps going up. I mean, I think it's $48 a roll now. I think it's really high. And it's like, I find myself in the studio, like we try to squeeze every last drop of shooting out of a roll of white as we can. It's pathetic. You know, I'll just be like, put some tile board on top of it. It's fine. You know, let's not do full length because it's dirty. Like, and it's not only expensive, it's a pain to get to the studio.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a consumable. So, I mean, that's the big selling point. Like, people are going to have to buy more. So, I mean, you can get so many shoots out of a roll of seamless, and then you're going to need another roll.
And it's done, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes if it's like a really special shoot, then I'll break out the new roll because I feel good. I'm like, okay, like I'm getting a good check, and it's a cool shoot. Let me make the seamless look nice. But there's times I'm like embarrassed by what my seamless looks like, and I'm trying to say to somebody like don't worry, it's going to look fine by the time I'm done with the photo. But yeah, the seamless looks kind of crappy now, but nobody wants to go walk to B&H and carry back a roll of seamless.
It's a pain in the butt.
Or pay for parking in order to drive it here. Yeah. It's so silly.
Yeah, I mean, seamless is definitely a hot seller.
Right. But in terms of cameras, like what's the hot, exciting, fun body that everybody wants right now?
D800. Everybody and like their mother wants that camera.
Right.
It's literally impossible to keep it in stock.
Right. And in some ways it makes sense to me, that particular camera, but in some ways it's kind of silly because Nikon did something weird where they had a 24 megapixel pro camera, which is what I have. $8,000. The files are amazing. The body is beautiful. I love that camera to death, and it's one of those things it's hard to upgrade it because it's so good. But they never made an amateur body with that chip in it, which everyone expected that at some point, because Nikon's always done it. They make the pro body with a really good chip, then they make an amateur version with the same chip. And a lot of guys like me prefer the pro body for a number of reasons. And we don't want the amateur. And a lot of people just want that chip, and they'd rather get the amateur body and spend less money. Fine. They never did that with the D3X. So now they put out an amateur body with a chip that's actually better than the D3X. So their best chip is actually in an amateur body. And what does that camera go for? Do you know?
I believe it goes for $27 retail.
Yeah, that's like nothing.
Yeah,
because the D3X was $8,000.
Yeah, it's a very expensive camera.
Right, D4 is probably like $5,200.
Yeah,
you know, but you know, so if you're a pro and you want the super high res body, yeah, you should be running out buying a D800. Yeah. But how many amateurs are running out because they want the absolute best chip in the world?
You'd be surprised.
It's
you know what?
The silliest thing.
And that's another testament to the internet, because you have lots of people outside, like at DSLR reviews. You have like CNET. They'll do reviews on a camera and they'll be like, well, this is the best, camera you can get that's, not a full body camera, but it's a full frame camera. It's, this is what professionals would use. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not a professional, but I can spend, instead of spending $8,000 on this camera, I can just spend, almost $3,000 and get a great camera, and they will go and they will buy it.
Well, but to me, it's a little crazy. And I know a lot of people like that because it's like you and I both train at the same jiu-jitsu place, right? Yeah. We train at the Marcelo Garcia, who is literally one of the best in the world. He's rocking the shirt for the people who watch this on video. And I should mention, by the way, before I get back to that point, the main audience that we get for the podcast is on iTunes. Okay. That's the number one, and Stitcher does pretty decent for us. But there's always a version on YouTube. So if you're listening to this on iTunes and you ever just kind of want to get a sense of like what the people look like who are talking, go to YouTube and just search Camera Work Ricard and you'll find the podcast. So there is always a video version on YouTube. But anyway, so our teacher's like literally one of the best in the world. He's like essentially created like 7 or 8 staples of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now that he sort of perfected. And like everybody wants to learn from him. They want to learn and take his class. If there's a class that he doesn't teach at the academy, that's say an hour before his class, it won't draw as many people as the one he teaches. And on the one hand, I get it. You want to learn from Marcelo Garcia.
His name's on the door.
Yeah, it's his academy. But on the other hand, it makes me laugh a little because it's like you're kind of going, like, I want to learn how to do an armbar from the best in the world. That's who has to teach me. But it's kind of silly in a way that, like, the guy who taught me third grade math, or the woman or whatever, she wasn't the best mathematician in the world. She was just someone who knew third grade math. You don't always need
good math.
Right. Like anybody can teach you math. And in reality, for the way I train, a blue belt could be teaching my class. And that's like the first belt. You go white and then blue. a blue belt could teach my jiu-jitsu class and I would be fine. I mean, I don't need the best in the world. And it's the same with the cameras where it's like, it's cool if you want to own the best, but in reality, how many people with a D800, which is like the best chip Nikon makes, would be just fine with like a D700 from 5 years ago or whatever that was, probably about 3-4 years ago. I love
the D700. It's one of my favorite cameras to play with.
Right. But everybody wants I want the best. And you're like...
I mean, I can see that. Like, I mean, when the 5D Mark III came out, I wanted one so bad, but I really had, control myself. Like, do I really need that camera? What am I going to do with it?
And it's funny because I generally shoot BET. I shoot a show called 106 in Park. It's a live music show similar to like Soul Train or American
Bandstand. I watched it a lot
in
high school.
Oh, okay, there you go. So I generally shoot that with a D3 and a D3S body, which are 12 megapixels, and one of them went down for like 2 weeks. It was in repair for the shutter, needed replacement, just blazing through so many frames. Shoot like almost 1,000 frames per episode.
It's a workhorse.
Yeah, it held up great for a lot of years, but I had to use my D3X on set there for like 2 weeks, and it was a disaster. I mean, the files are so big, from 24 megapixels, dramatically different workflow. Just killed my workflow. I actually got an email from BET going, look, these files are too big. We don't need pictures to be 10 megabytes when you're uploading them to us. So, excuse me, it's a little funny that, again, everybody's running out buying a D800, which has a higher quality than that D3X, that my client, BET, is going, this file is too big.
Yeah.
How many of those people, don't need that is really, really funny.
I mean, also, how many of those people that are buying this camera are actually going to use it the way an actual photographer uses? How many of them know how to set the aperture, how to work all that?
Right.
They're probably just going to put automatic and go.
But it's funny because I was watching Creative Live. Don't ask me how or why. I got like addicted to Creative Live for like 3 days straight the last week. Now, are you personally familiar with Creative Live?
No, not at all.
Okay, so let me explain what it is. I kind of figured everyone knew what it is because it's such an amazing platform that, I don't know, so maybe I'm educating some people about it, but basically what it is this. It's a website where instructional videos are presented, and they're presented live. And they will get some top people. This is not a case of like, if you can't do it, you're teaching it. These are guys and women completely successful in their fields, top of the game. And they're giving a presentation for like 3 days in terms of Eastern Standard Time, where we are. It'll go from say noon to like 7 p.m. And let's say there was a woman the other day, she did one on pet photography. So she's doing 7 hours Friday, 7 hours Saturday, 7 hours Sunday about pet photography, going into everything, like everything. Here's how I shoot it. Here's how I set up my online ordering. Here's the process of my consultation. I mean, they're giving away all the goods. You'd be shocked that people will do this. And there's been so many people, like I watched one the other day with Brooke Shaden, which was very interesting. She's like this artist, and she does a lot of compositing. So she'll just take a picture of herself, which is funny. She doesn't even bother with models. She shoots herself, and then she'll composite into this crazy, like, demented Hansel and Gretel Snow White fairy tale scene. It's dark and dreary and it's raining and she's got an umbrella and, looks like something from like a horror movie or something, like The Ring or something, does this great work. But the funny thing was, like say the Brooke Shaden one and on the one, oh my God, I can't remember the woman's name. Usually we keep an iPad on set to Google stuff as we're doing it. But anyway, there was a woman who did one on pet photography. If you have your iPhone now, Stephen, just Google Creative Live pet photography and let's find this person's name. But the funny thing to me was the Brooke Shaden one and the woman who did the pet photography one, which were both fantastic Creative Live presentations, which are delivered free on Creative Live. Again, they were on for like 7 hours a day, and the live broadcast is completely free. You can just watch it. You have to pay them a dime. You found her name?
Arcia Dorf.
That was it. It's Arica.
Arica. Yeah.
Arica. What's the last name?
Dorf. Dorff.
Okay, so it's Arica Dorf is the woman who did the pet one. But the funny thing about both her and Brooke Shaden is they're using bottom of the line lighting. Like the woman, Brooke Shaden, she started off using a light bulb in a lamp, and she did like her whole first year like that. And the majority of it she does is natural light, and then she just said she brought us some strobes, and she didn't even really seem to be that aware of what kind they were. She just did not care.
Because she didn't have a full Broncolor setup?
No, doesn't care. It's like, it's irrelevant to her. All that she cares about is the artistic process of what she's doing in the story she's trying to tell. And the woman who did the Arica Dorf, who did the pet photography one, I mean, her average booking, you come in, you do a pet sitting, and it's like $125 for the sitting, and her average print sales are within $1,000 to $1,500 in print sales, and she's paying like $5 for an 8x10. So, the markup is insane.
That's great.
She's using photogenic lights. Like, this is nothing. Like, you could probably buy a set of photogenic lights for the price of like one of my Pro Photo heads, but I've always tended to be sort of a gearhead, and I'm like, I want Pro Photo lights, and I want the new Pro Photos, so I have a set of those D1 Air lights, Yeah. But it is amazing how many people that are really serious about the storytelling of photography or the business of photography, they don't care. And even Brooke Shaden, she's on a 5D Mark II. She doesn't care that there's a 5D Mark III. Yeah. She doesn't care at all. She just cares about the story she's telling with the photo.
I feel like that's happened a lot now, especially with the way technology is going, the iPhone and the internet. It's like people look at photography like 10 years ago. Traditionally, it was an art. People cared about how the picture is displayed, what kind of story comes across when you see the image. Now people are just like, I have an iPhone, I'm a photographer. I take pictures of, dogs on the street.
Right.
Then you're just like, well, what's the process? Like, what did you think about when you took this photograph? What struck you about this photograph? I don't know. I thought it was cool. I thought my followers on Instagram would like it.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of times where people are not telling any kind of story, which is crazy because I think almost everyone has a story they can tell. Yeah. You really can. Your life you could be not successful in whatever it is you're pursuing and still photographically have a story to tell. Yeah. Just those pictures of how you're spending your time and what's around you. But there is a certain amount of laziness that can drive me crazy when you're looking at certain Instagram feeds and it's just, here's my lunch, or like you're following a pretty girl and all she can post is pictures of herself in the mirror and you're like, okay, it's cool, she's cute, I like looking at her, but you're tweeting like I'm in Vegas and it's just another picture of you in the mirror. You could have just done that in Brooklyn. Yep. Put a little bit more effort into it, would be cool, But the thing that I kept remarking on this weekend as I was watching Creative Live was a couple of things, because like I said, like, I don't know if you ever do this, you kind of get just sucked into stuff like you watch a Star Wars movie and then you start watching like all the Star Wars movies and you read the Star Wars book.
The time.
Right. So I just kind of got sucked into Creative Live and I was watching all these different presentations and I had this thought that, you hear that expression like knowledge is power and information is so key. And I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that that's not really true. Really? And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Here's my theory on it.
Right,
okay.
I'm listening.
Here we go. I think whatever we don't have in society seems like that's the most valuable thing. Okay. So let's say you could go back into whatever times, I don't know, caveman, whatever, I don't know, whatever period I'm talking about.
All right.
Before people could travel. Because remember, the horse is not native to America. The horse was brought here by white people who killed all of my native people and introduced the horse here. Okay? And it wasn't like the Far Side cartoon where they're literally introducing the horses to America. There's a Far Side cartoon there. And they go, the horses were introduced to America in 1754. And the horses, they're like, the picture of the Far Side cartoon, they're like, oh, here's America. And the horses are like, wow, it's nice. But it wasn't like that. But the point is, when people first discovered the ability to travel, like now you could travel to where the food is. You could travel away from bad weather. You could travel away from bad neighbors who might be trying to kill you. So you would be thinking like traveling is the key to life. Like if you could just travel, that's the secret to all of life, because you can always just go to where the food is and get away from danger. And traveling is the key because no one could travel. Yeah. You follow what I'm saying?
Kind of.
And if you had a society where water was a problem and you conquered the water problem, you would be going, water is life. Because with water, you can bathe and you can drink water and you can live. Like
cultivate, yeah.
Right, because you didn't have it. You follow? So years ago, you didn't really have information. You just didn't have it. Like, people were not going to tell you. I'll never forget being at a music video, I don't know, 20 years ago, whatever, a million years ago, and there's a photographer and he's shooting in a manner that, to my eyes, isn't making sense, whatever it is. Like, let's say he's using a zoom lens and I know it's dark and I know you can't get light through a zoom lens, and I'm just kind of going, how is he taking pictures? I don't get it. And I remember the guy's name. I remember everything. I'm not going to say his name, but I went up to him and I was really young, just started off shooting. I'm like, man, I'm just wondering, how are you doing that? This doesn't make sense to me. And he just goes like, man, I never discuss that shit. I don't ever give out that information. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember one time when I was watching an MTV thing, and it was like a Wu-Tang thing, and they were showing like a shoot with Wu-Tang on the street. And the photographer was like, yeah, we're going to turn that video camera away now because I don't want people stealing my technique on how I'm shooting the Wu or some nonsense like that. And there was a time people weren't just giving out information. You know, like you didn't have the internet in your house. And if you had a set of encyclopedias, like you were that one kid on the block who had the encyclopedias, and like everybody came to your house. And, you know, and if you remember encyclopedias, like a salesman would come to your house to sell you the encyclopedia, and you signed away your life. It was like hundreds of dollars, and it was this big commitment to buying the encyclopedia set. Like you paid off every month just to have this information in your house. So we were always taught like knowledge is power, knowledge is the key. But when you look at today, man, I mean, if you go to YouTube, or again, you look at Creative Live, because again, these presentations I'm talking about on Creative Live, they're free. They don't charge. They charge if you want to buy it to download it. When the presentation is over, it's either $100 or $150. But if you've got the time free, and they do a rebroadcast, so let's say New York, it airs from New York from noon to 7 p.m. this day one. It's going to repeat now at like 8 p.m. overnight. You can watch it completely for free. They're giving away the information because you start to realize that information really is not the key. It's just not. Everybody's giving you all the information. You go on YouTube, you can learn how the top snowboarder snowboards. You can learn how this guy lights his pictures. And again, and you look at what Arica Dorf did on her pet photography thing. She was telling you how much she's marking up the prints. She's telling you where she buys, where she gets the wholesale prints from. Like you could copy her entire business model. She did some shoots live. Here's how I pose the dog. Here's why I pose him. Here's what I do. And this is why this picture sells. Giving it all away. So I think information is not the key at all. Now I think it's all just action. It's what you do. It has nothing to do with what you know. It's how much action are you putting in.
I mean, I think having the information is one thing, and being able to act on it's another, right? So, I mean, it's funny when you brought up when you were talking about the photographer not wanting to show secrets. It kind of reminds me of like old martial artists saying, I can't show you these moves because they're secret moves. Meanwhile, you have people now like Marcelo, and who has MG in Action, which is, for those who don't know, is just an online database of his basic entire mythology of fighting.
I hadn't even really thought about that, but my God, I did karate for 12 years. Okay. I made it to 3rd degree black belt in karate. And we had the black belt manual, which you got at black belt. Yeah. And no one was allowed to look at the black belt manual but black belts. And there was nothing in it. It was just, because in karate, you've got like a finite number of techniques. It's 10 kicks, and it's 10 punches and a few hand strikes. It's maybe like 50 techniques, and everything is just combinations of those techniques, and they're not that complicated. But still, there was a tremendous amount of secrecy. My karate teacher was never going to put the katas online or our self-defense strategies, but when you look at today, our teacher, and again, you think about it, our teacher is a world champion who, for all we know, could compete again. He hasn't competed now in about 3 years or so, maybe.
Something like that,
It's been fairly recent. Very likely he'll compete again. He has given away every single thing he knows in jiu-jitsu. I mean, he has a website, like you said, MG in Action. You can log on to the site. There's, 20,000 clips or something?
It's insane.
It's insane. And it's here's how to pass my guard. Here's how to, do an armbar from the mount. Here's how to do the triangle choke.
And he doesn't hide anything. It's not like he shows a specific set to the online viewers and then reserves a certain amount of things for the students. Whatever he's showing on the site is what we're learning at the same time at the academy.
Absolutely. And bring yourself taller for the mic so they can see you, people watching on YouTube. And it's fascinating because he has guys that are competing right now. We have guys that did the Worlds, it's called, is coming up in probably
next week.
Next week, the Worlds is coming up. And what he's teaching the guys who are competing in the Worlds, it's all online. Every single thing they know.
No secrecy.
No secrecy. And it's not being given away. It's like $20 a month or something like that. But if you're competing, that's nothing to pay $20 a month to learn what your competition's doing. But again, you learn though that it's not really information. It isn't. It's what you're doing with it. And if you look at the guys from our school that are competing at the Worlds, these guys are training 2 and 3 times a day. They're literally training more in one day than I train in a week. It's the action that really makes a difference.
I mean, it goes back, you can have all the information in the world, but if you're not doing anything with it, what is it really?
What difference does it make? Right. And that's one of the reasons we called this camera work. When Ray and I came up with it was because we liked the idea of like, you need a camera and you have to do the work. Yeah. But I think Creative Live is just such a good example of that, because like I'm saying, these guys are just giving away everything. And if you haven't seen it, you have to watch it, because I watched this lady take pictures of pets for 3 days.
She really blew your mind.
She blew my mind. And like, if there's two things I don't care about is like pets and taking pictures of pets. I don't care. I don't think your dog's cute. I don't want to pet him. I don't care, but she fascinated me giving away all this information. And I think a lot of it was 90% of it was applicable to whatever field you're in, if you're selling to consumers and not selling to business. What she was talking about didn't really apply to like if you're a magazine photographer or corporate clients, but if you're shooting like the local dance school or whatever, like everything she said was so applicable about how to do these like upsells and the mood you're trying to set and present yourself as a premium brand, and how to mark up things was all really, really good.
It's about how you sell it. It's about how you sell it.
Yeah, it was fascinating to me. Excuse me. So in terms of cameras, right? So you shoot yourself, correct?
Sometimes, yeah.
Right. And you're on the X100S from Fuji.
Yes.
Right. Which I think is interesting, because what drew you to that? Because I've seen you walking around with like a D7000, I think, and an 800.
D700.
D700
Yeah.
I've seen you with.
Yep.
Right. So what drew you to the Fuji X100S as the final choice rather than the D700? Because they're probably about the same price. Right.
The D700s are still a bit more pricey.
Okay.
Even though it's an older camera.
Right.
What drew me to the X100 originally was the X100 I wanted to get, because when the X100S was announced, there was a slight drop in the X100. So I was like, I can just get the older model, and save a little bit of cash and still have a good camera. Mm-hmm. And then I read the review that you sent me. I think it was Zach Aris,
right.
And that review blew my mind.
Right.
And I saw the images he put up, and I was like, I want the X100S.
Right.
And it just so happened that next following week, our Fuji our salesman came in, and he had it. Right. He had one that, I think it was a prototype actually, but he let me play with it, right. And I got to shoot it with it a little bit, and it was great. I fell in love right there.
Right.
So I was like, all right, as soon as one becomes available, I'm gonna pick it up. Right. And unfortunately, I haven't shot with this as much as I would like to because of my schedule, but I'm gonna get out more now that the weather's nice and do some.
Well, it's not really nice though.
Well, unfortunately, it's still like 40 degrees in May in New York.
Yeah, it's like May. What did it say? 25th of May or something?
Yeah, and 26th it's like 40 degrees. But I mean, as the weather progressively gets nicer, I'm gonna go outside. I'm definitely gonna shoot, go to a lot of parks, and whenever I go on vacation. But really, the main thing was the form factor. I mean, the D700 is a really big camera. The Canon 5D Mark III is a really big camera.
Yeah.
The X100S is pretty tiny. I mean, it's the size, almost pretty much the size of a Leica M.
Right. It's probably a little smaller and definitely lighter.
It's not a real rangefinder,
right.
Which I'm okay with because the real rangefinders kind of freak me out a little bit.
Yeah, you got to manually focus it. It's like,
but the form factor is really nice. The images are beautiful.
Right.
I mean, I just really like the way it feels in my hand. There's a little thing you can put on top of it for a more ergonomic grip. It goes around to the hot shoe, and it has a little fin.
Oh, it's like a thumb piece, basically.
Thumb piece.
Yeah.
It just makes it.
I use something like that on my M9. I use something called the Thumbie, which you stick on the camera. I keep wanting to get it soldered on. I want to try to find somebody that could just permanently stick it on because it's like glued on the camera.
Super glue. Bam.
Yeah, but I want it like just welded on. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's a thumb grip and it works great. It works better than like a front hand grip in reality. But I think those Fujis are really, really good. I mean, I keep thinking now, this is my thought now, is that the Canon and Nikons are going to be moved over to people who are shooting for like wire image and Getty type photography. The guys who are doing, and females when I use that term, who are doing like red carpets and fashion shows and concerts. That's going to become the users of Nikons and Canons. But the people that are walking around and doing like general portraiture on the street, and people doing certain types of magazine assignments where maybe you're setting up a light or two and you're posing some guy at his desk, things like that, the Fujis are perfect for that. And that's a huge range of photography. Like that's not limiting at all. But the average person is really not doing the Victoria's Secret's fashion show or shooting 7th on 6th. And that's where those cameras shine. Like for me, when I'm at BET, the Nikon is fantastic. I'm blazing through 1,000 shots. And there are things that happen, like the guest will walk out of these doors, that these lights come on, and they walk out of the doors and they wave to the audience and they walk over to the couch where they do the interview. I need a Nikon for that. Yeah. I'm blazing through like the 11 frames a second, maybe trying to get the one that's correct with the face right, the focus right, the light right, all of that. That's a great time for the Nikon. But if I'm on a more normal assignment where, again, I'm shooting someone in their office, my Leica is fine for that. I don't really need the ability to shoot the 11 frames a second or the super fast autofocus or the battery that never dies. Those things are just not that important. And gaining the ability to take the camera with you everywhere is huge.
And it's not a burden either. I mean, when I would carry around the D700, I would feel it.
Yeah, you know it's there.
I would feel it. With the X100S, it's around my, I have it strapped around, and I really don't feel it. It's there.
Right. Yeah, I think that's such a smart decision, and I think you're going to see more and more of that. And, people want to share, and those cameras are great for that. Yeah.
I wish it wasn't a fixed lens, but, I mean, if it wasn't, it'd be a far more expensive camera.
Right. But at least they put the right lens on it. It's a 35 millimeter f2 lens, 35 millimeter equivalent, right? It's 35. And that's really the lens it should be. So they got that right. And if I'm walking with my Leica, most of the time I'm on 35 f2 anyway. So it's perfect. But did you see there's a new Leica coming? They're calling it on the site the Mini M, which I don't think they're going to really call it that because nobody's going to buy a Mini anything for like $5,000. But I think they're trying to say it will be a Mini M. But have you heard anything about that in the pipeline of the camera store world?
Like I said, I had heard somebody at work mentioning it. I heard a couple of the guys that we work with that are really big Leica heads. They love Leica. And I heard them mention something, but I was working. I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But, no, I haven't heard too much about it. I haven't read too much about it.
Right.
I'm going to have to look it up now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, let me know. Hey, text me. You texted me like when the M came in.
I sent you a picture. I was like, hey, look what I got.
I'm like, oh my God. Like, 'cause I still want to get the M. It just, obviously the price is kind of prohibitive and I won't gain that much from it, but I'm going to end up with it eventually, but it's not as big a gain as when I went from like a Nikon D2X to a Nikon D3. It gave me this huge low light ability that I didn't have, and events that I used to shoot with a flash, I was able to shoot no flash. It was a dramatic difference in my photography, but I think when I go to the newest version of the Leica M, it's not going to make that big a difference. Just it'll help me with the low light, which is nice, but it's not that big a difference.
Have you played with the monochrome?
I had the monochrome for about 3 hours. They did one of these like walking tour things. So I was able to take it and I didn't have to do the walking tour. I just left and I had like that pressure on me because I do street photography fairly often and it's a lot of hit and miss. I'll go out for like 2 or 3 hours and get nothing. And then sometimes it just clicks and like I'm just nailing good stuff. And I put myself in this frame of mind. I was like, I've only got this camera 3 hours. I am going to produce something good. And I really did. Like I got like one really good couple shot, and then I shot Ray. Ray was going to Letterman, so I followed him, and I took these pictures of Ray just looking all like depressed or something. I don't know.
Every time I see Ray, he seems upset.
Yeah, I don't know what goes on in his head. Yeah, I don't know what goes on in his head sometimes, but it just looks so dramatic. Like he had real work gear on, and he's carrying all this camera stuff, and I shot it like 10,000 ISO just to play with it, which you do get the banding at that ISO. Like you can see horizontal lines in it there, but it's still a decent shot. And I went with him to Letterman and he was shooting, and Adam Levine was the guy who was going to do the walkthrough. Like they get out the car and they walk into the Letterman entrance. So Ray was shooting that as what most people call paparazzi, but it's not really paparazzi because you have permission to be there. Okay. So I didn't want to try to shoot that because I'm using like a wide angle. So I went across the street to where the fans were and I took a few pictures of them. And I got lucky. Adam Levine came over to sign autographs for the fans, and I nailed a pretty decent shot of him signing autographs, the kind of shot that normally I would just upload and sell. And the only reason I didn't was I was kind of in this transition between submitting or servicing images through Corbis and transitioning over to Getty. Okay. So I just never bothered to upload it, but I actually produced a shot that was sellable. And even though I only had it for 3 hours, and I was laughing, I was getting all egotistical or something maybe, but as we're going back to return the cameras, I just kept thinking, yeah, but I'm the only one returning this monochrome that shot something that can be sold. I'm the only one who got a celebrity. I had the camera 3 hours, and I got Adam Levine like signing autographs, and I know this shot could sell. So I thought it was funny, but I never shoot black and white, and I would actually like to have the camera, to be honest, because I don't shoot black and white. I think it would open a door for me to have a camera that only did black and white. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do color and convert to black and white, for me personally, it's like cheating. It's like you had that safety net that you could do color or black and white.
I always feel like that. Whenever I photograph and I'm in Photoshop and I'm like, I bet this would look nice in black and white. And I hit it, I'm like, this isn't real.
Right.
This isn't real.
It's like it's cheating to me. Yeah. And the thing is that there are actually some advantages to shooting in color. I don't know if you're aware of this, but from what I've read, because with black and white photographers would often put a filter on a lens, like you put a yellow filter on or a green filter on, and these things would change the contrast, because in black and white, like a green leaf and a red shirt, which look very different in color, could look exactly the same in black and white. So you put like a yellow filter on, and now the greens look very different from red or whatever. Again, I'm not a black and white shooter. So when you're shooting with a black and white camera like the monochrome, you completely lose that. You lose the ability to do that, and you lose the ability to recover highlights. If you blow a highlight when you're shooting a black and white camera, it's gone forever. Whereas on a regular color film, when you're getting an indication that you blew a highlight, that your white is just completely washed out and there's no information in the white, it's just pure white, it might not be blown. Maybe you just blew the red channel, but the green channel still has some detail, and you can recover that detail. So there's actually advantages to shooting in color and converting to black and white. But for me, I have no interest in it. If I had a black and white camera, I would shoot black and white, but I'm not interested in shooting color and converting to black and white. That's just a personal thing for me. But I would love to have that camera. I think it would open up a door for me. And I subscribe to Rolling Stone magazine, really just to keep it in the studio, because I like having something kind of contemporary in the studio. And it's surprising how much black and white photography there is in Rolling Stone magazine. I would have, like, if you'd said to me how much black and white is in there, I would have said, like, none. It's surprising. It's
black
like
and white's, I think,
a lot.
I think black and white's like coming back a lot. I mean, there are certain photographers that have built their career, not maybe on black and white, but that look of very overexposed, very big whites, and just a little bit of black. And
And you see a lot of it too on like Instagram, but a lot of times I think people just getting the white balance so screwed up that they just go, oh, put it in black and white and it looks better. So
easy mode.
Yeah, that's that sort of cheating aspect, and it exists in my head. I mean, the bottom line is just having a good photo. So if it looks good and you've done whatever you had to do to it, fine. For me, I have all of these like crazy rules in my head of like, I can't do that. Like, I can't just convert it to black and white. But at $8,000, I think that camera's just a little too high.
Yeah,
you know,
but it's Leica, you know?
Yeah.
That's what they do. They charge you a lot of money for a relatively good product. But, I mean, it's like Apple. You're paying for a lot of it for the name.
Right. And I when they're coming out with this new one, what they're calling a Mini M, I mean, boy, if they can remove the rangefinder, which is the mechanical manual focusing mechanism, and replace that with an EVF, which is like when you're looking at a television screen of the actual image. If they could just do that, essentially creating a Fuji X100, I think that would be huge, especially if it's cheaper than the current M. If that comes in at like $5,000, I think that could be huge for them. Like, even though it would be more than a Fuji X100, that camera I think would fly off the shelves and be huge for them. And I'm hoping that's what they're going to do.
I mean, if they're smart, they'll follow what Fuji's doing. But, I mean, it's hard to tell with Leica, because Leica's, like I said, they're like the leader of that type of camera. They're the trendsetter. So I feel like it's almost like an ego thing. Will they cave in and copy a company like Fuji, who's not as big as them?
Right. Yeah, but Fuji's going to crush them in sales because the prices. Those cameras are so great.
It's impossible to keep that camera in stock. It's impossible.
That X100S.
Yeah.
What about the other ones sell too, though? I guess, right? The Fuji X Pro 1 and
they sell good. They don't sell as good as X100S.
Right.
I mean, we get them in. They sit in stock for maybe a couple days, maybe a week, and then somebody comes in and picks it up.
Right.
But the X100S, as soon as our waiting list gets notified that they're in stock, within minutes they're all gone. And we get in probably somewhere like 6 to 9 at a time, and they don't last very long.
And they're just gone.
Yeah, I mean, we have an active waiting list in store for pickup. And when they come in, we just go down the line, pick the next person who's on the list, let them know that it's in, and literally within the hour, they're in the store.
They just come
Even if they're like at work on the other side of Manhattan, they'll be at the store to pick it up.
They just come in. It's funny.
Yep.
But see, for me, I find that if I'm using the same camera as everybody else, it's just not as much fun. And I think a lot of people don't admit that, but I personally, I don't want the same camera as everybody else. I want a different camera. Now, I'm fine to wear the same sneakers and I'll watch the same TV shows. I'm not running around trying to be so different, but give me my one thing that's different. I want it to be my camera.
I get that same feeling when I'm at a concert or something and everybody pulls out their iPhone to take a picture. I feel like I just feel like a sheep in like a giant herd.
Right. You're like, where's my individuality?
Yep.
And I never get the point of that because you could just go on YouTube and watch somebody else's video of it. Why do I have to film the concert? I could just go on YouTube, and if my night's not there, it's the night before. And concerts today, they're all the same anyway. Like whatever Rihanna did in Brooklyn, she did it in Boston a week ago. And it's nothing. She's not going to whip out some surprise song in New York and you got the only video of it. You really don't need to film this, you know? It's
for sure.
Absolutely ridiculous, you know? But what about rentals? You guys have a rental thing at K&M too, don't you?
Yep, we got a full rental department. Everything for anything a working photographer would need for a shoot. We have C-stands, any kind of camera. We even still carry a pretty decent line of film cameras if you're still into that. Lighting.
And people rent the film cameras too?
Yeah, I mean, usually students. We get a lot of kids from SVA that'll come through.
That's weird. They should just buy that, though. Can't you just buy?
Well, a lot of them want to shoot medium format. They'll want to use like the Mamiya 7, I believe, which is the medium format camma.
They make the
rangefinder.
The really popular one. Right. That's the rangefinder.
Yeah.
That's a popular camera, like in a rental.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, for the students, I mean, the most popular camera for rentals is the 5D Mark III by far.
Okay.
Like people come in all the time, and like a lot of the times for the weekends, if I personally want to rent the camera, I'll rent the 5D Mark III or Mark II, and then I have to get lucky to see if there's still one there for me to rent.
If it's still in that weekend, right. But the worst thing I ever did, it's like I still regret it, and I don't know why, but I had a Mamiya RZ67 Pro 2, I think it was called, and it was tremendously expensive. I mean, back then a Pro Nikon was $1,700, and this was the lenses for this thing were like $1,000. It was such a crazy investment. And I never really connected with it. There were times I got good shots with it, because again, it made me shoot different. I used to like the finder where you look down into it and you saw an upside down image. It forced me to compose and shoot differently. But I never really loved it. And we went digital. I immediately tried to sell it. Like, I was glad to get rid of it. I didn't love it. And I had everything you could have for it. I had the 645 back. I had the Polaroid back, the 120 back, the 220 back.
You invested in this thing.
Oh, my, I've always been a lunatic with gear. I'm really an idiot with it. And like I'm saying, I'm the guy, though, who doesn't think it's right. I just know I do it. And then I'll sit and watch Creative Live. And I'm watching a woman booking $1,200 sessions going, $1,200 print sales for like a $20 expense.
Using a lampshade.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, well, yeah, I just used a lamp in my bedroom. And then the next day I'm watching Creative Live and here's somebody else who goes, yeah, I use photogenic lights. I'm like, you're kidding me. I could get like 80 photogenic lights for the price of one pro photo. But I've always bought a lot of stuff. It's never been smart. It's not something I recommend. But I sold this RZ67 at the 3 lenses. I mean, I sold it on eBay so cheap. I don't remember the exact amount, but I sold it for like 25% of what I could have gotten from it, because the lenses, for example, are still in demand for the RZ67 because there's all these medium format platforms that take the same lenses. And, you know, the body isn't really in demand as much because the digital backs don't work as good on this body as they do on the newer bodies. But I could have gotten way more than I did, but I was just coming to get rid of it. Like, it's like the first offer that came up, I think I just took it, and it was really silly. And every now and then it just makes me mad. I go, man, I should just kept that camera. Like, just
hold on to it.
Yeah, I didn't really need the money. I just kind of mentally, I was so happy to go digital and get rid of film. I was like, I just want to get rid of all the film stuff. So I miss
film. I like film. I still shoot it from now and then.
Really?
Yeah, I still have like 8 or 9 rolls that I have to get developed that I shot like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I might find it fun to do like one roll, but it's so expensive now.
It's so expensive. It's an investment in film if you want to still do that.
It's crazy because you have that whole lomography thing, which we've talked about on a podcast. I think it's like episode 2. It's one of the really early ones. We spoke quite a bit about my own personal thoughts on lomography and their whole thing, but you know, the money part, like, I remember I used to buy, like, if you needed print film, you get print film. And I mean, this is like 10 years ago. Print film was like $2.25 a roll. Yeah. It was nothing. Now you go and you see these like 3-packs at lomography, like 3 rolls of print film for like $29.
Yeah, it's expensive.
You're kidding, right? Yeah. Like it's that much more?
Lomo's interesting. Their perspective of like their toy cameras and the film. Basically, for me personally, I think that they're just catering to the hipster crowd and to this new generation of kids. I mean, and it's not completely fair, but like a lot of people are now getting into analog stuff, like analog watches, analog photography, and they, you know, I personally know little kids that don't know what film is, which kind of, which freaks me out. Yeah. But they're catering to a certain group of people who are going to pay that premium to shoot with film. I mean, you can still get Portra or Fuji film for $4 a roll, which is still pretty expensive, but you can get Portra for $100, you can get Fuji Pro H $400 for under $4 a roll.
Right, but then why is lomography charging so much for a roll of print film?
Because they're like a almost like a couture brand or like a premium brand of film, and their film is just regular film. It's just rebranded for them.
Yeah, I know. And then they put like these like crazy color pictures on a box, and then like if you start looking online, you find out it's like you said, it's like AFCO, whoever.
They also are feeding into trying to capitalize on the Instagram filter frame type of thing, hipstamatic type of thing. Right. And I mean, they're good. I have a couple of friends that work for Lomo, and I mean, they do well. They have they're really good at promoting their brand. I think it is every Tuesday, Thursday, they have a party at the Lomo house.
Yeah, and then every Sunday they do an event, and I've been to like 2 of them. I took my daughter to the spinner thing. You pull the string, and this camera shoots like a 360 picture. She had a ball. It was a lot of fun. It was like $10. They loan you the camera, and I think they give you a roll of film to go with it. I can't remember, but it was cool. And I mean, I said this on I think it's podcast 2. It might be number 3, but. In summary, for me, the thing that I like about them is they make photography look fun, which I think is cool. And I think it's something that Nikon and Canon never thought of, because the typical Nikon ad, it's like, it's 3 a.m. You're 70 feet away from the summit at Mount Kilimanjaro, and the bird flies by. Thank God you've got your IS 2.8. You're just like,
when does Ashton Kutcher come into that part?
Yeah, it's like it's just so silly. Like that's not my life. I'm sorry. It's not that dramatic. It's just not. Every now and then there's a guy who made a record or a pretty girl in front of my camera, but it's just not as dramatic as that ad. And all the Lomography marketing makes photography look fun. Yeah. It's just fun. And there's a new iPhone commercial that did a similar thing. They just show all these people walking and shooting like puddles and window frames and things in their life, and they made photography look fun. Yeah. And they didn't focus on the megapixels and the IS resolution, double-coated, focal length lens. And I think that part is cool. But the part that kind of irks me about them, though, is that a lot of what they make, it's just cheap. And like if you look at a Leica M, any Leica M from, I don't care if it's from World War II or it's from the present, they're just beautiful cameras. When you pick them up, when you hold them, if you look at a photograph, they are gorgeous cameras.
Quality. They feel like quality.
Right. And if you look at the photography if you look at a picture of a Lomo, like a Lomo LCA, I think is their big camera. If you were to look at the product photography of that camera, it looks like a Leica. It looks beautiful. The design, the little grain on the camera, it's gorgeous. And they've got these product shots. You go, my God, that is a beautiful camera. I want one of those. If you walk in the store and pick it up, you're like, is this the disposable camera? Yeah. Do I throw this away when I'm done with it? How much is this? $300? No, for real. How much is this camera? Yeah. The whole thing's plastic. You open the door, it's like the little door is like moving, and nothing is. You can look at it and see it's not a $300 camera.
They remind me of Holgas, really, like the good old Holga cameras, the medium format. So that's what that's what the category they're all in mostly when you look at them online. They're toy cameras. Right,
but the Holgas were like $40, but then a Lomo branded Holga will be like $80. And you're like, you could just go online and buy a Holga from someone else.
The Lomo equivalent to the Diana. The Diana F Plus.
Right. Yeah. But they actually sell Holgas, but they sell them for more money than.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. They have like a Lomo Holga, and you're like, funny. I could just go buy it from somebody else.
It's trench Holga.
Right. That's what it is. So that part irks me, that the price is so high, and then when you add how much film costs, you're like, wow, like this is just way too much money for this fun. I'd rather just shoot my digital stuff because it's so high. Yeah. But I do like that they make photography fun. So I always hope they stay in business. I'm always glad that they exist. I like the way they do the store. You go to B&H or whatever, it's like fluorescent lighting. It's ugly. It's not colorful. The camera stores look like...
Very mechanical.
Yeah, it looks like you're in Staples or something. Yeah. But then you go to Lomography, again, it's colorful and it's fun, and there's like photo picture books and there's pictures on the wall. And
yeah, they're definitely trying to get back to... They're really channeling like the fun part of photography, which it should be. Photography is fun. Right. And that's, I think, why a lot of people get into it. I know it's why I got into it, because it's fun to take pictures and it's fun to produce an image, and you never know what's going to look, at least back in the day with film, you never knew how that image exactly was going to come out.
Yeah.
And that was the fun part.
Right. Well, for me, that's where the Leica comes in, because a lot of times my framing is inaccurate because the framing isn't correct on the Leica. So I get a little bit of that mystery with the Leica. Yeah. So that's one thing I like about it, because I think what people miss a lot is, if you're trying to work, okay, you want a perfect tool. You don't want that mystery of how did it come out, because you're working and it's a job. But if you're trying to have some fun or you're trying to create art, you don't want to be in control of everything. Yeah. You don't.
You want variables.
You want some variables. You want some looseness to it. And that's why so many artists have turned to drugs, because it loosens up that part of their brain.
Yep,
you see a ton of music albums and even other types of artists who paint and stuff, they've been on heroin and they've been on LSD and all these drugs that allow them to turn off the analytical part of their brain, and it kind of goes back to what we started with that D800, where you have all these guys who, like, their main priority is like, well, what has the highest resolution? Well, the D700 is 12 megapixels, and the D3X is 24 megapixels, and the D800 is 36 megapixels. Well, obviously, I want the 36 megapixel. And that's all they're thinking about. They're not thinking about the artistic process. And sometimes, like you're saying with film, you can't see what you're doing. Shooting blind, that might produce better art. Yeah. Just like you listen to like a Jimi Hendrix live album. He's just kind of going off on his own thing, and it could be fantastic. Yeah. And maybe he can't recreate it again. And that's
what art's all about.
That's
it's
what
about
art.
One piece, one moment in time, or one piece, right. And just its individuality.
Right, something special, and that's what you're trying to sell. Like, look at this special piece of art, and like I say, when we talked about Creative Live earlier today, it's like you have a lot of people doing great art, someone like a Brooke Shaden, who's not thinking about that technical perfection. She's just thinking about the story. And, I think if you can get to that place, that's a great thing. And it's what I struggle with, because like I say, I think I got into photography. I wanted to photograph the rock bands that I liked. And then I also just wanted to play with the toys. Like, I wanted the toys, and I still have a lot of that in me. I'll see something like that Fuji, and I'm like, I want an X100 too. It looks like fun to just play with that. Yeah. And kind of hurts you artistically, though, if that's where your brain is, but it is partially
it's part
where my brain is, unfortunately. I wish it weren't, but it is, But anything coming up that you're shooting personally that you're looking forward to just getting out and shooting, either for pay or just for fun or anything?
Well, my younger brother's graduating from college soon, so we're having a ton of family coming in. Right. So we're going to have like a whole family outing barbecue, and I'm just going to see how I can thoroughly embarrass my family by taking interesting photos of them.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be an outside event, so it's going to be hopefully on a good day, so there'll be some good light and just family shooting.
Yeah, I don't shoot enough of that. I wish I shot more, but occasionally I'll do it, but I really should do more of the family stuff. The last time I did something decent like that was Christmas. I brought a light out and I did some portraits of like the little nieces who are all like 5 and 6 years younger. Mm-hmm. I didn't even shoot like the adults. I don't know. I'm bad with that. I wish I did.
Adults are boring. Kids always do the most interesting things.
Right. Yeah. Like, it's just, everybody's like, oh, it's so cute. Then you shoot the adults, it's like, oh, I look heavy and I look like this. Well, the problem with the
adults is you point a camera at them and they all notice it immediately and they all try to they all get really rigid and try to pose.
Right.
Kids don't really care. Kids will just keep doing like, oh, you have a camera, okay, whatever. I'm just going to continue throwing this hot dog at you.
Yeah, everybody changes their behavior. Yeah. And it's funny because, again, we trained the same jiu-jitsu place, and it's so funny because I shoot a lot of the rolling, and I know some of those guys must hate seeing me because in any given jiu-jitsu match, it's a wrestling. Somebody's winning. Somebody's losing.
And it's probably not looking good when they're losing.
Yeah, and nobody really wants to be that guy getting choked out. And occasionally I'll get guys that will come up to me and say like, hey, I don't care. Like, get me choked out. I don't care. But overall, people have an ego, and nobody really wants that. But I try not to think about that. I'm just looking at the shot. What's a great shot? And then occasionally, though, I will let that part of my brain turn on. So what I'll do is I'll look for mismatches. I'll look for like purple belts rolling with white belts, or purple going against a blue belt, because then in theory the purple belt should be winning because he has a higher rank. So then I go, okay, if the purple belt is winning, okay, that's a cool shot. Nobody can really complain. But I get a little extra sensitive with the black belts, though, because I don't usually shoot a black belt rolling against a black belt because I don't want to depict like who's winning. And then what's really funny is, well, I don't know if I should even get into this, but I shot Eddie Bravo rolling with Marcelo Garcia.
Oh, it's your boy Eddie Bravo.
Oh, I love Eddie. I love Eddie. I love Eddie to death. The nicest guy in the world, and his style of jiu-jitsu just suits me so well that I really love what he teaches in terms of jiu-jitsu, because it's very different. Marcelo teaches a kind of like very, in my opinion, like strong, athletic, driving top game. And Eddie Bravo teaches a more sneaky, clenching, grabbing on your back. And it's a more like slippery, sneaky style of jiu-jitsu. And I personally like that better. I don't know. It just seems to work for me personally. But I shot them, and like I have pictures where it looks like Eddie is destroying Marcelo, and I've got pictures of Marcelo looking like he's destroying Eddie. And I have a bunch of stuff I never even released because I love love them both, and I don't want to put out pictures that looks like Eddie's beating Marcelo or Marcelo's beating Eddie, especially since it's on video. You go on YouTube and just Google Eddie Bravo versus Marcelo Garcia, and it's pretty clear who's dominating it, and you can draw your own conclusions. So,
it was a long time ago. It wasn't a real serious role, though,
right? No, not at all. They're too friendly to...
It was a long time ago. It was like on a Saturday, right?
It was a Saturday, yeah. And it was... They like each other too much to really go at it 100%. Yeah. So they were both very respectful of each other. But I have photos that could paint the story one way or the other. And I've literally never put them online anywhere because I don't want to mislead the story. I kind of like the idea that there's a video, and a video tells the story better than a photo because it's harder to lie on a 5-minute unedited video than it is on a one photo that you snap this 1 second of, you know. But on one other really quick note, though, was we had a guy there one time with Marcelo, and I was shooting. And again, when I shoot really close. Like, you know I'm shooting because I'm with a 24 or 21 when I shoot the rolling. And Marcelo was going against a guy named Rafael Lovato, who's a big, strong guy. I mean, there's no way they're in the same weight class, right?
No, not at all.
Right. So in a real, true competition, they would never be, you know, competing with each other.
Absolute maybe, but not in weight division wise.
Right. So in theory, Marcelo should lose because this is not his weight division. And I'm watching, and there's a part where it looks like Rafael is going to choke Marcelo out. And I'm standing there with the camera. I mean, I'm 6 inches away from him shooting, and I'm just going like, I don't want to take this picture. I don't want to take this picture of my teacher getting choked and losing. I love Marcelo. This is my guy, and he's just the coolest guy in the world. And I'm just like, don't let this happen. I don't want to take the picture. And fortunately, he got out of it. And I got all of these shots of him, you know, doing this one leg X guard and a double leg X on Rafael. And, you know, and when the match finished, Rafael's like, how did you do this? And how did you, he's asking Marcelo all these questions about how Marcelo did it.
He's like a magician, man. Roll, I mean, every time, I haven't rolled with him in a long time, but every time I roll with him, it's just, you learn so much, but you end up just so tired, and you're like mystified by some of the things he does.
What he's doing,
I mean, I remember rolling with him sometimes, and just literally after being done, and this like a couple of years ago, when I was in really good shape and training full time, and I would just crawl to the wall after the roll's over because I was just so tired and like just exhausted from.
That's me rolling with anybody personally. is that, you know? But it is funny, you know, shooting because you're trying to be so conscious of that stuff, you know. All right, but we're going to wrap there. So tell us where we can find you. What's the Twitter or the Instagram or whatever? If somebody wants to check you out, where do they do that?
Me personally?
Yes.
If you want to check me out on Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at the same name. It's CMDR Stephen or Stephen, STEPHEN. And I'm on Instagram and I'm on Twitter. And yeah, I mean, I use Instagram more than I use Twitter, a lot more. Yeah, I find I'm on Instagram more than Twitter as well. Yeah. Neither one, I'm not going to get into this much now because I'm going to bring this Kevin Turner guy back, and then we're going to do more of a discussion on Instagram and Twitter. But I find for me, neither one really produces the result I want. And maybe I'm off base, maybe I'm egotistical, I don't know. But if I write something that I think is funny, I want like 30 people commenting, wow, that was funny. And if I don't get it, then I don't want to write anything else I thought was funny on Twitter. I know it's silly, and then I get driven crazy like on Instagram because most of my Instagram comes off my Leica, and it's pictures that I think are good. I go out there, I do my street stuff. I tend to not post like real photos, meaning like if I get something published in a magazine, I don't usually post the tear sheet, and I don't usually post the actual photo. I'll just post the behind the scenes. But it's a behind the scenes that I think is a good photograph, something that could probably make my book. You know, like could make a section of my portfolio. So again, it's not just, oh, she's doing makeup. It's a good photograph of her doing makeup. That's what I'll usually put. If I put that up there, I'll average like 11 likes. It's like nobody cares. Same here.
Right. Now, the other day, though, I shot a picture of Zendaya. She's this Disney girl. Not Disney. I think it's Nickelodeon. She has a show called Shake It Up. My daughter is 8. She loves this girl to death. I've seen like 50 episodes of the TV show. I know all about the character, the whole thing. So she's at BET. So I go to do a picture of me and her together, which is a shot that I will do at BET less than once every 6 months. I probably do 2 of those a year at BET. I'll occasionally do it at my studio, but you know, you're in my world, you're in my studio for 2 or 3 hours. I have an actual relationship with you at this point. Like, you've been in here for hours, you know me, we're talking about stuff, you know. I don't mind taking that picture and throwing it up, but at BET, a lot of times I don't say a word to the celebrity, or maybe it's, you know, just, hey, how you doing? I'm John, I like your stuff. I don't tend to take that picture because it's fake, you know. But I put the took a picture of me and Zendaya, and it's just cheese, the same shot everybody takes. It's a cheesy shot of us together. Gets like 27 likes. I'm like, it's not even a good photograph. It's just a cheesy picture of me and her. And that kind of stuff drives me crazy on Instagram. And then even in a comment I wrote, I said, yeah, me hanging with Zendaya. Yeah, you know, we do this all the time. That's my life. You know, we're probably going to go to the movies later. We'll go sit and play chess. I don't even play chess, but it's a joke. And like not one person responded and said, can I hang with you guys? And I don't even know who it was. And I'm like, this is probably like some 15-year-old who thinks I'm serious and doesn't even get the joke. But not getting the reaction that I want. Like nobody's writing like, yeah, you wish, or acknowledging if they even get the joke. So it kind of kills my enthusiasm for Instagram, the lack of likes and the fact that there's not the interaction that I want. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong. I'm just saying it could just be egotistical. I just want reaction. So it just doesn't do a whole lot for me, but we're going to talk about that later when I get Kevin Turner back here, because Kevin Turner can post a picture and get like 500 likes on
I was
Instagram.
looking at his stuff just now. It's interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to him, and then I'm going to do my complaining about Instagram and Twitter and all these things, okay? But anyway, if you want to find mine, it's just John Ricard on Instagram, JohnRicard on Instagram, okay? And please, tell people about the podcast. Let's get some people listening to this thing and give us some feedback, all right? Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.